this shouldn't be a taboo topic. You are a unique being that has a unique vessel and deserves unique fuel for that vessel, a good environment to thrive. That means you need to know what does your body need? Listen to it. Don't subdue that kind of stuff. Pay attention. You deserve to thrive. So speak up. Speak up. Look for help. Invest in your health. Invest in yourself, in your self-care. This is your time.
Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins, epigenetic human performance coach. This is where we discuss all things lifestyle, environment, food, exercise, work, mind, and social interaction as they pertain to epigenetic expression in a way that's relatable to everyone. So if you're ready to start viewing you as an individual, take control of your life and health, and get results, buckle up, here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Epigenetics Raw, Real, Relatable podcast. I'm your host, Susan Robbins. And today, when I say buckle up, I'm usually like, buckle up. This is going to be a good one. Today, I'm going, put your seatbelt on, your lap belt, buckle up full. And when I say raw and real, today is going to be very raw and real. And I am super, super excited to do this. As you can tell, I'm usually pumped up, but I'm super pumped up today. I have a Pt1 colleague who is just one of the most phenomenal people. And she has agreed to come on, and our topic today is going to be on perimenopause, and personalized health is going to be in there. And she says that every woman in their 40s and 50s needs to hear this. It is going to be, and this was her quote, not mine, raw and real. So I said, you're the right podcast today, with no fluff. She and I get along really well. And there may be an expletive here or there. If you're sensitive to that, just so you know, it could happen. My guest today is the incredible Dr. Danielle Remy. She is a naturopathic doctor, health strategist, and sit down for this because she's so accomplished. One of the sharpest minds emerging in the field of precision wellness. She is the VP of Science at Shae AI. That is the app-driven tech-driven part of Pt1 that I use with my coaching, where she has been part of the core team since its inception. She is the scientific architect behind Shae's groundbreaking AI-based health technology, driving the personalization engine, the precision lab interpretation, and the predictive algorithms designed to help people prevent disease long before it starts. And as I have seen in my practice, to reverse it. In September, she launched her newest venture, the Perimenopause Lab, a platform dedicated to helping women cut through the chaos of hormonal changes with clarity, confidence, and science-backed solutions. Her mission is to transform how women understand and navigate perimenopause, making this stage a powerful reset instead of a struggle. And then beyond her work, Daniella is an avid gym buff, a devoted dog lover. She's a passionate traveler. We've talked about this, who speaks, I'm telling you, I'm just like the underachiever, who speaks 4 languages, and brings a global human-centered perspective to everything she does. She's known for blending deep scientific expertise with a warm, grounded, and totally relatable approach to health. And she is a connector, for those of you familiar with the PH and hear me talking. And another reason we get along so well, I'm the activator with the huge connector secondary. And I've actually worked with Dr. Daniella. She's been a consultant with my health as well. And she is phenomenal. And I'm so happy to have her here, Dr. Daniella. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for finally inviting me. I'm so excited to be here. I think this is going to be so much fun. Susan, you are like full of energy and I'm loving it.
I would have invited you before, but I thought you were too busy. So when I reached out, I thought, I'm just going to take a stab and see if she's willing to come on. And you were like, yeah, can we do it in November? I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So I'm just thrilled that you are here. And so back when I asked Daniella to come on, it was about 3 weeks to a month ago or so. No, it was about 3 weeks ago. I was out on a walk and she said, hey, is there a time you can talk? And I said, I'm free right now. And it was like 2.5 hours later. But the first thing I said was, because she said, let's talk about what you want me to discuss on the podcast. And I'm thinking, my God, she's one of the brains behind Pt1. We could go there.
And I just said, "What is on your mind? What would you like to talk about?" And she just started off on this perimenopause, and I was like, "That's it. We're done." And we are also going to talk about at more towards the end. She's going to throw in personalized health as we talk here because this is part of what she does as well. But we're also going to talk about the food section and of the PH360. So if you have been a client, are a client, even a coach, she's always fantastic to hear. And she's going to talk a bit on the concepts of how it was created and why it is pure gold and part of the personalization process. So buckle in, settle down. We have to break this one into two if we go. We did do what we did last time, but I'm okay with whatever. So let Daniella, I'm going to give you the floor because when you started talking about perimenopause, I was walking and I just was like, I'm listening to a podcast, listening to her talk. So I'm going to let you run with it. And I know not if, when I have questions or comments, I'll jump in. But I want you to start out with your passion on this because it's gripping.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is a new venture of mine that I started going into honestly because I started feeling it myself. It's been in the last year with sleep problems and acne breakouts and some changes and mood changes and energy changes. And when you're like, you can't really understand why am I not feeling like myself? Like I'm a high energy, I'm thriving. What's going on? And it took me a little while to understand when, oh, I get it. Okay. But wait a minute, all the solutions and all the things I had to do a lot of work. I'm still doing a lot of work. I'm learning. I learn all the time when it comes to
Mhm.
medicine. And I went, if it's this much of a challenge for me, considering my background, considering the education I have, considering my experience and all the resources, like I can self prescribe anything. I went, oh my goodness. Women are lost. Let me see what's out there. And of course, I'm researching what's out there and I'm looking at the other resources. I'm looking at the lack of research. I'm looking at the generalization of the guidelines. I'm looking at all these things that are definitely subpar is the best I can say. And I thought this isn't it. This isn't what women need. Women need more. So I decided to jump into this head first, no planning, because that's what connectors and activators do, or mesos. And I'm swimming. Let's see how it goes. So there's, of course, all kinds of plans. Like I come from the AI tech background. So I'm looking at AI companions specifically for the space to be able to give information on what do your symptoms actually mean. When you have certain symptoms, they are related to certain pathophysiological pathways, whether it's in your brain, in your hormones, in your metabolism. Let's translate those so that you understand what these patterns actually mean. And that's where I'm starting. That's my goal.
But this isn't ChatGPT you're going to.
Oh, no.
To get this
No, you're
information,
gonna
right?
get ChatGPT. You're going to be told that the first symptoms of perimenopause are hot flushes.
Hot flashes.
No, they're not. The reason you get hot flushes is because your estrogen drops. So your estrogen doesn't drop as a first sign of perimenopause. Progesterone does, and cortisol fluctuates. So those become your first symptoms, which means it's a little bit of sleep, it's a little bit of mood, it's a little bit of instability. It might be a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more on edge, a little bit more up and downs, or brain fog. And those are vague. And like data, when it comes to research, they don't like vague, they like measurable. That's why they're like, oh, hot flush, that is a measurable thing. Therefore, it must be that. Or a cycle change. Therefore, it must be that. So if you go to the Menopause Society, the definition of perimenopause starts at your cycle changing plus or minus 7 days. PCOS doesn't count. Anyway, so plus or minus 7 days, there's the definition. Why? Because it's measurable, not because it's true. And this is the thing that needs to change. And that's why I became passionate about it. I think you can hear it in my voice.
No, not at all. Again, another reason we get along, right? People are like, I hear it in your voice. But when you believe in something so strongly, you feel this and you want to help people, it like flows. It comes out
Yeah.
and you can definitely,
I've got
your energy.
passion coming out my pores. It's like I got passion hot flushes. Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like creating that education, that resource hub, and the simplification of the complexity, because part of the reason why it's complex is because it's not well researched. So it's not well understood. And that's already a flaw in what we've got. But at least let's take what we've got and simplify it even further so that a woman going through perimenopause doesn't need to have a doctorate degree to figure it out. You shouldn't have to. It's 50% of the population. It should be such a natural thing. So yeah, let's normalize this a little bit. Let's create the resources and allow women to feel supported and helped and understood rather than this confusion, this taboo sometimes. Like the data shows that most people still think it's an incredibly taboo topic, which is a shame, right? It's like a second adolescent transition. We're just like a midlife transition. It's just, it's not a big deal.
We're just changing. It's not the end of the world. You just have to adjust to it. And I'm seeing there's so many programs out there, menopause program, menopause or perimenopause program. But they all still put everybody under one blanket. And maybe we'll just throw hormones at you. But again, everybody is so individualized with what they experience. When I started perimenopause, I'm long menopause, postmenopausal, but I was 42 when I had my first hot flash. But now when I look back, it was in my late 30s that I had a hysterectomy when I was 26, 27. So I never had the period to give me an indication because they left my ovaries. So I didn't have any indication that way. But I can remember all like these symptoms that you're talking about them. These things had been happening long before I got my first hot flash. In the middle of the summer in a full police uniform with 2 shirts, vest, boots. So, oh my God, what the hell is this? And everybody experiences this differently.
Yeah.
But yet it's marketed as just, oh, this is awful, but we can fix it. And it's typically like one size fits all because everybody's the same. It's so different.
Our conventional medical hat that we all wear, we're all just used to conventional medicine. We don't understand its roles and its limitations. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the fact that we have advanced modern medicine. Thank goodness we have hospitals that we can go to. But you have to think about what's its role. So when you go to a hospital, it's to keep you from dying. Okay, that's the hospital. And then when you go to your GP, it's to keep you okay, so you can go back to work because essentially we need productive members of society, right? That's like the whole point of our societal function is everybody does their role, everybody does their thing, so you just need to be able to continue doing your role. The GP isn't an expert in everything, can't be. They're the gatekeepers and they give you the referrals to different areas. But the medical system is not designed to optimize your health. You are fine. Get back to work. They're there, you're fine, get back to work. So they'll take care of you if you're sick. Thank goodness we've got medications. Thank goodness we've got antibiotics. Thank goodness we've got like the modern medicine. But there's a point in time when you're like, I don't want to be fine anymore. I want to thrive. I remember how I felt when I was full of energy, when I could go to the gym and recuperate, when I slept better than a baby. I always say not like a baby because they wake up all the time. I was better than a baby. When I ate well and I felt well with what I ate. No pain, no migraines, no aches, none of that stuff that they just say, that's just aging. No, we do not have to accept that.
Thank you. I did a whole series of little short videos last week on social media on myths around aging because there's so many. And a lot of them revolve around menopause. It's things like your memory is going to go, you're going to get the achy joints and all. You don't have to. It is not age-related. Like, it is not an aging thing. It's a lifestyle thing that has to be just tweaked.
Age-related in that kind of like an older car will start rusting, especially if you haven't taken care of it.
Bingo.
If you've been managing, if you've been changing the tires, you've been doing the oil and the lube and the filter, and hey, I'm not a car person. I'll stop with my analogy there. But if you've been taking good care, you can have an antique car that moves beautifully. So aging could be age-related because it happens to be a correlation, but it's not a causation. It is not the cause for deterioration. Your lifestyle is what you've been doing until then. Have you been letting your car rust with salt from the winter or whatever the conditions are? Like, that's how we have to think about health and wellness. And when we think about the conventional medical model, their job is to keep you fine. So accept that. That's their thing. Great. If you want to feel better, you have to go above and beyond the conventional medical model. And that's where you can't think about the guidelines. You can't think about the standards. You can't think about just the medication and the Band-Aids, because sometimes there isn't even a Band-Aid to address. Now we're looking at personalized, predictive, and preventative medicine. That's different.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So let's talk a bit. So you started talking about some of the symptoms of perimenopause, how they tend to ramp up to get to the point of hot flashes. So then at what point, where do you start going to a specialist or going to someone that deals on a more personalized level? Where's the right time to make that step, make that move and say, all right, I need to take some control here? And don't you think that lifestyle also has to be taken into consideration? Because as we get older, and this is, again, you don't have to fall apart. You just have to adjust some things because our body is different and it's going to have different needs. So if you address the two together, then you're going to be on that better track to a better health span, correct?
So I think the best analogy is like when you start thinking about wrinkles. Now, you could start thinking about wrinkles when you first start seeing wrinkles, but the dermatologist is going to tell you, don't forget to wear your SPF when you're 5. That's your lifestyle factor. And you prevent the sun damage, for instance, which I've got plenty of on my face because I absolutely love the sun.
You and me both, sister.
But that's the reality. And maybe you're starting to take care of creams and hydration. And then you'll learn the nutrition is going to reflect on your face. So the better nutrition you have, the detoxing pathway is going to reflect in a glow on your face versus if you've got toxicity. Let's just leave it at that. So the same thing would happen when it comes to perimenopause and those symptoms. There are certain things from your lifestyle that are automatically going to make that transition easier on you. Are you already exercising? Are you already in a healthy BMI? Are you already not smoking, for instance? Those healthy lifestyles are going to do a lot of benefit so that you're not going to struggle. That's already part of it. When you look at all these studies on what they understand in terms of symptom severity, and that's, if you want to go look it up, it's symptom severity of, let's say, vasomotor symptoms, which are the hot flushes and those night sweats that people get. Again, studies, they love things that's measurable, easy. Brain fog's a little harder to measure, so they sometimes just don't look at it. So let's talk about those measurable things. And they say 67% of women will have some form of vasomotor symptoms during their perimenopausal transition. So that's not everybody. This is the personalization. And of that 67%, about a third have it severe. This is where it's like it's disturbing their daily life. It's in the way of their work productivity. It's keeping them from sleeping, that kind of stuff. Right. Then when they're studying, what is the relationship with those severe cases? What have they got in common? And then you start to see it's a lot of the stuff that's just like diabetes and cardiovascular disease. And we're talking about, were you living a healthy lifestyle? So that's why smoking comes in. That's why, are you eating a bunch of inflammatory foods? Guess what? It's inflammation. It's like reaction in your body. Are you drinking? Yes.
Drinking alcohol.
Huge one. And a glass of wine here or there, not a problem. We're not talking about having a glass. Although for some people, that's histamine reactions and that causes flushes as well. So you get into the pathophysiology of why is it red wine or why is it white wine? But you get into, it's a lifestyle thing over and over and over again. So if you're not feeling optimized, if you're like, I'm just, je ne sais quoi, I don't know what's going on, go seek help, because this is where your doctor might be like, I don't know, your labs look normal. I don't know what to do, because their job is to keep you from being sick. So you're not sick. You're fine, but you want to go beyond the line of fine. You want to go into optimized health, and that's where you need to get personalized help. And that could be at any age, to be honest. So you could start when you're 40 and you're like, 40, is this perimenopause? Or you could already be thinking, wait a minute, I had a hysterectomy, or I just had breast cancer and they gave me an artificial menopause. I'm going through.
Right.
Or I don't know, I feel different than usual and my sleep is a little bit off. Let me just get some help. Those are those little minor things that all of a sudden the personalized care makes a big difference.
And aren't we seeing earlier onsets of menopause?
Mhm.
Because it seemed decades ago, maybe even 2 decades ago, 3, it seemed like menopause was always women were older, 50s, mid to late 50s, and now I'm hearing of so many more women because I worked with a hormone specialist for a couple years, and there were women coming in, and I'm seeing it online in their 30s, and it just seems like the earlier onsets of periods, like, because of so many, I don't know whether it's the toxins, the stress, or what, again, all these lifestyle-driven things that are they all affecting our hormones so much that we're dropping into these things that should be later in life even earlier now?
It's a good question, and the honest answer is that the research doesn't know. So if I go based on research,
Yeah.
it's a guess. When you look at patterns, there's a couple things to consider in all of it. One is, do we just understand more and therefore the perimenopause symptoms have come in and people are recognizing that earlier, because the truth is we start to transition earlier,
Mm.
versus 30 years ago it was just, when did you stop your period? And people thought that's where technically that's menopause. So let's clarify some language here. Menopause is a moment in time. You haven't had your period in 12 months, that is the definition of menopause. So you went into menopause. After that moment in time, you were considered postmenopause. And before that moment in time, you were considered perimenopause, right? Now, that's just a definition of a moment in time. And that's where usually when it came to the symptoms, when we're like, oh, I'm not getting my period, haven't had my period in 12 months. Oh, this is menopause. And people thought the whole transition is menopause. And the definition, therefore, became a focus on the 60-year-olds, the Women's Health
Makes sense
Initiative and
then.
everything. It was all older women who were in that because that's what they were looking at. They didn't even think about looking at the progressive drop in hormones. It wasn't
Yeah.
well studied. And it has been well studied for a while, like, people have been looking into it, but what gets done and then what gets done in the media and gets transcribed into people's
Two
thoughts
different things.
a long time. So when I say recent, I'm like, well, oh, this 20-year-old study. Yeah, but people weren't really talking about it until 2 years ago. This is the reality.
Yeah.
And anything that you see published, this is like a total aside, anything that you see published is already old data, because by the time you've gathered the data, collected the data, analyzed the data, gone through the ethics, gone through the writing, gone through several reviews, when you submit it for publication, they don't publish it the next day. Sometimes they publish it a year later. Like, years could go by between when the data was collected and when the data is actually published. And even then, it doesn't necessarily come out into the news. So just a thought experiment when you're thinking about, where's this new data coming from? Is it happening earlier? It's possible, but it could also just be possible that we're just understanding so much more about its onset. We know in other research where bone density starts to decline in the 30s, where men start to get bald, but we don't talk
Right.
about andropause in the same way. Where is this happening? It's hormonal changes. So when
Yes.
we speak about hormonal peaks and hormonal troughs, we're just talking about that transition and the change, and that we need to acknowledge the symptoms that come with the change, especially for women, because it's a little less straightforward than it is with men.
Sure. And again, individual, because we all I hear some people say, "God, I went through menopause, I had no symptoms. I had nothing. I felt great the whole time." And others, went hiking with my friend last week, and we're going up the trail, and she's, "I'm flashing again." "I'm sweating, I'm sweating." And then she's like, "Now I'm cold." And now here it comes again, and it was several times going up this short trail. It was comical. And then others, like, just really don't feel much of anything.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the thing is, there's things that we feel on the outside, like a hot flush, it's a
Yeah.
strong, like, signal. But then there's things that happen on the inside that we don't always pay attention to. This is where, for example, we hear about collagen, right? Collagen deficiencies, because we can see it on our faces if we're like, Where'd that turkey neck come from? You know what I mean?
I'm getting jowls.
Like, why do I start looking like a bulldog? So these things start to appear, but you have collagen inside your body, right? This is why it increases with cardiovascular disease, because guess what? Your vessels also have collagen in them, right? All of a sudden you've got varicose veins and you weren't really paying attention to that. Or why are my ankles swelling when I'm on the plane? That's one for me, by the way. It started happening. And I was like, I've never had swollen ankles from a long plane ride. Where's this coming from? Yeah, it's collagen. Right? It's collagen deficiency. It's not doing its job the same way as it was before. Why is it harder to gain muscle? Muscle protein synthesis. It's like these other things that can be a little bit more subtle than I'm sweating buckets and I'm red.
And if you know your body, you'll notice these little things start to have the more in touch you are with your body. I can notice one little minute thing and know that something's off because it's out of the norm. I think people tend to be so stressed and living in a state of this. And just, again, you have people drinking alcohol, you have eating junk food, so you never feel really good. So it's just like another ache or pain or a little bit of puffiness here. It's not taken as, hey, this might be something that's happening, a change here. It's more, oh, it's probably just something that's normal.
That's exactly it. We are now in a society where we don't always self-reflect enough. I would say, and as a majority, we allow ourselves to be distracted, whether it's distracted by the family, distracted by work and obligations and stress and what's going to happen for Christmas presents I need to buy, or when's the next vacation that I'd love to be able to take, or my bills at the end of the month, or when I'm cooking for dinner. Like, we have these things that keep our minds busy that we're not there enough in tune with our body. That takes practice. It's not something everybody does. But if you get to practice that experience, understanding what your body is saying, it's silent, it's there, it's whispering, but it's still communicating with you. Now, you might just feel, ooh, something's off, and you might not know how to translate that. That's where a little bit of medical knowledge comes in. This is why I want to create
Right.
what I'm creating. It's in the beginning one day, but it's going to help you translate. That symptom decoder is what I want to create. But that's where other people who understand personalized medicine can also help translate. So whether it is somebody who understands your genetic makeup and your underlying root causes and the way your body likes to communicate. So for example, an activator likes to communicate with inflammation and outbursts, and it's not subdued. Subdued would be weird. It's out, right? Whereas the
True.
diplomat, all of a sudden, you're seeing repression and you're starting to see, oh, what's going on over here. It's just different ways that you understand the body. And so you go to somebody who's worked with different bodies and understanding that communication. And I'm a big advocate of speak up for what you feel. It's okay if you've got 100 different symptoms. We figure it out. Clea, for instance, can
Sure.
figure out how to translate all those different symptoms and look at the patterns, because there are patterns on the pathophysiology that is there in the background. And that's how you start to communicate with your body. And that's how you start to know, what do I need? What are the nutrients that I need? What are the exercises or the stretches or the supplements or the environmental exposures that I need? Or what are the things that are stressing me out? And all of those things that are part of your personalized medicine, I think, now become more important in perimenopause. Like, this is the benefit of the transition, is it's paired with that time when you stop giving a shit. Oh, you're just like, I have done so much. I don't care anymore. This is my time. And all of a sudden, your level of self-care starts to increase and your body's, oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I've been holding out for so long, but can you please just hydrate me? You know what I mean?
Can you give me some sleep at normal hours? Can you stop scrolling on that phone mindlessly? Can you slow me down a little bit and let me breathe? Really actual breath work, not the stress breathing we're doing all day long with our shrugs because we're all chest breathing. That totally makes sense. I want to ask you about the collagen. So we know the collagen levels drop, and it's obviously super important. And you can see it, the crepe skin, things like that come in. Does taking collagen powder, like doing collagen powder, is that going to be beneficial?
So, unfortunately, collagen isn't so easily absorbed. In other words, the amount that you get from the amount that you need to consume is just so small. It's a small percentage. It's not zero, however, but there's so much more to it. So I always think, because as a naturopathic doctor, I think about the building blocks. What else is there? Vitamin C is a huge component. It's a cofactor for collagen synthesis. Protein. This is why people keep saying you need to get protein. Hyaluronic acid and hydration are huge components. And then you also have to think about the things that start to harm collagen as well. So it's not just what do you add, but some of the things that you might have to take away. Toxins start to damage collagen. Inflammation damages collagen. Even lots of chelators, like lots of caffeine. And I love my coffee. Okay. I'm not going to take anybody's coffee away, but if you could reduce the coffee a little bit, you could potentially keep the collagen so you don't have to keep rebuilding, because essentially you're causing damage. So there's two components to it. There's one, it's do less of the things that cause damage and then do more of the things that build collagen. But taking a collagen supplement and thinking that you've done enough is false.
Okay. Good clarification. And then again, on the protein, that's the big buzz out there is you should be eating protein all day long, women. You need to eat more and more and more. And we know that not all bodies need that much or do well with too much.
That's right. So, for instance, ectomorphs, like the hard gainers, just the way the body is built, you're better off having small amounts of well-cooked, easily digested protein several times throughout the day instead of 50 grams in a meal that like bogs down your stomach, and it's going to cause IBS afterwards, or just that fatigue, the bloat, the blah. I can't digest it because it's a weaker digestive system. It's not really about like body strength. It's neurological strength. We can get into health types and stuff, but essentially, yes, not everybody needs what on Dr. Google or GPT. But essentially, yes, protein is important. Nobody should be lacking protein. It's just
Right.
how you get the protein, because sometimes it's not the what, it's the how. So how you're getting the protein is going to be an important component. That could
Yeah.
be how it's cooked, the type, the timing. Like there's a few things about the how and not just protein per se.
That's why the food section in the pH is such gold, because the timing is down, the types of protein ideal for you, and how to eat them.
Yeah.
Because you like, I've some women, they're 2 times a day, and they're good, and it's enough for them, and then others, like you said, like the ectos, which is for you guys out there, sensors, some of your diplomats down, especially towards that cusp, and then your crusaders. They all tend to do better with the more well-cooked and a little bit smaller, especially the sensor. And
Mhm.
that because I've worked with sensors in menopause, going through either peri or going through menopause. And it is a game change when you break up those meals, because every one of them has digestive issues, whether it's diarrhea, constipation, a lot of anxiety, and they're a lot of the times they're intermittent fasting because that's what you're here to do, and then try to get 40 grams of protein in a meal, and they are miserable, and you break it up into the small, they're like, "Oh my god, I'm starting to feel human again."
Yep. Yep. See,
So
this is the thing. Intermittent fasting has its time and place. I'm not saying it's bad for everybody. Some people benefit from it. But if you think about a strong intermittent fasting means you have to condense the nutrients into smaller times, right?
yep.
And so that means 1 to 2 meals a day, and you have to get what? 1.2 grams per kilograms of protein in that time. Your body does not digest it. Not even a bodybuilder wants to digest that much protein in one go. And then what happens to those leftovers that your body doesn't like? Either it's going to rot, literally rot inside your gut because the microbes are all over the place and it's sitting there and it's like, oh, I'm full. Yeah, that's just going to keep processing. Right? So you get the bloat, you get the IBS, you get the SIBO, you get all these long-term problems because you're just not feeding your body the way your body wants to be fed, right? In fact, I don't think anybody needs to be able to just get all that protein in one because the body just doesn't digest that way. We
No,
are
I
better
agree.
off with smaller smaller meals throughout the day. Most health types, the ones that can do intermittent fasting, they're usually like the guardians, the endomorphs, right?
Yep.
But they're also eating less in general because they've got such an efficient digestive system. They take more from what they're given so they can do with less, essentially. So there's a balance, there's a method to the madness. And
Yeah.
I think essentially we need to be careful with the generic information that's out there that might have been researched in a randomized controlled trial and in a lab context with rigidity, but we're not rigid beings. There's a lot of
No.
needs to happen there. And all the research has its contradictions. Every single one. Why? Because it's personalized. So it works for some. There is no dietary approach, no research, not one that's going to be good for 100% of the population. Not one.
But the people that wanna believe that are pushing that, they will push it all day long. If you look at, say there's a doctor, because I just dealt with this, a doctor that is all carnivore. That is all he well, I've seen him on podcasts or heard him on podcasts, and he's a cardiovascular surgeon, is all about carnivore, like that. It's all meat and saturated fat because it worked for him. And all the studies are out there. I see it in a lot of people, including one of my clients that actually went to him. I said, "You need to see a cardiologist," because the blood sugar was very elevated. He was definitely pre-diabetic, insulin resistant, very, very high cardiovascular markers, which we lowered in a month significantly, and the blood sugar came down. But went for a consult with these people with this group, and they said, "We don't want your blood sugar high, so we want you to go back to eating all the meat and fat again." And I did the DNA. Like, there's every propensity with these really high impact genes, whether it's IL-6, TNF alpha, TCF7L2. No one talks about this one. And this one is very increased risk. It's high impact for type 2 diabetes with saturated fat, not carbohydrates.
Right.
And so when you're pounding in all of this saturated fat and you're wondering, you were here when we started when you were carnivore. This again, there's this belief. So it's not right for everybody, but yet even a specialist, when this is what they believe, is going to put everybody on the same type of protocol.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the detriment to a certain way of thinking
Agree.
where honestly, it's narrow-minded. It's just dumb and narrow-minded because humans are not all the same. Dogs are not all the same. Monkeys are not all the same. So now, we might not need monkeys to thrive the same way we want to thrive, but the reality is we want to feel amazing, which means we have to fuel our body the way our bodies need to be fueled. And that means your body, your genetics, your environment, your food preferences, even your allergies and intolerances that might have been created and built up over time due to allergy exposures and mold exposures and things that you would have had in your lifetime, and something that you had in your parents, like a smoking household that impacted your genetics. Like all of these things matter. They add up to that unique picture of who you are. And that's where I think they're guidelines. That's like the common denominator. If you want to go beyond that, you can't think that way. So when I feel like somebody is imposing this, everybody has to do that, and anybody who's in my clinic is going to do that, I'm like, then you got to cherry pick your people because you cannot apply this to everybody. It's those select few that might respond really well to that. I'm not saying it doesn't work for some. I'm saying it does not work for 100% of the population. Guaranteed. Period.
Yeah. Even the different biohacks. Not everybody can do cold plunge, or not everybody should get up and do cold plunge first thing in the morning. All right. And I see these programs out there. It's just this is one size fits all. And you have a big part of the people not feeling any better. Some of them actually feel worse. And then they start to lose confidence and get frustrated and think that they are just a hot mess and there's no fixing them and they have to live like this, but they don't. So with the Perimenopause Lab, So tell us about this baby of yours that you have created, Perimenopause Lab.
Okay. So in the creation phase, because it's still brand new, I've been in the discovery phase where it meant asking women who are in perimenopause or have gone through it, like, what was it like for you? What did you wish you had? What did you wish you knew? If you could tell somebody, like, here's that message. This is the things I wish I knew, or my advice to you. And then also the practitioners who work in this space. I wish the tracker included this piece of information, or I wish women had these kinds of resources, or I wish this could help me so much. And I've been asking a lot. I feel like it's not just about what I think needs to be out there. I'm really trying to provide something of value and of service to the people who need it the most. And one message that I got, and I feel this too, so maybe it's a little bit biased, but trackers can be so annoying
I
because
I just wrote down trackers and wanted to ask you about. So this is you read my mind. Look at this.
that's just how we work. That's meso. That's meso vibe. Yeah, so you can have a tracker, but you have to actually think about it. Pick up your phone, put in the symptoms. And we're not talking about one symptom. We're talking about a slew of symptoms that can be all over the place. Is it not connected? And then, yeah, it's like this, and you have to put your finger on it. It's tough. So they're not that effective in a long-term analysis on a transition that could last 15 years. Right? That's the reality of it. So we need to find a way to simplify that entire process. And there's wearable devices that are coming out now. There's people are working in this space to try and create like a hormonal tracker or even hormone kits at home. So you don't have to just go to a medical professional and get a requisition for expensive hormone tests. And lots of things are coming out. So I'm excited about what's going to happen in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Like I'm eager because things are changing and the word is coming out, more research is coming out, more interest is coming out, and that's beautiful. In the meantime, women need support and resources. So I'm building it. That's literally where I'm at right now. It's still at the baby stage, it's a seedling. I'm building it, and I'm very open to ideas and information and collaboration. I want this to be for women and by women. It's not about an imposition on here's what it is. I want to be able to create something where it's that like dynamic, oh, we could do this. All right, let's make it happen. I'm going to work on being a little bit more transparent about the cost of everything. People love
Mhm.
everything under the moon. And some of these things, it's just, okay, I can't do this right now until I get some funding, but let's do these things first. Great.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be using my medical knowledge. It's going to be using my own personal experiences, my entire network, the whole community that's out there. Combine that with some proprietary AI technology so that it's easy, because it should be easy to translate what's going on in my body in a way that I get it, and then I can talk about it in a way that a health professional can guide me better.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, you're talking and you're like, I don't think I'm feeling understood. You might not be speaking the right language. I want to be the bridge for that. So your symptoms and how you're talking is coming in like a journal. Blah 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 blah. I got this. Here's how I'm feeling. Whatever. Just talk it out. I translate all of that into symptom patterns for you, and then that can be translated into medical speak, so you can get the help that you need.
Get the help.
Yeah.
What are your so I'm going to have two questions here. First one, because we talk trackers. I track everything with my Garmin. And I've had a two-part series on HRV, heart rate variability. Do you and I swear by it. I can really see how my body reacts to different things by tracking my HRV. Do you see anything with HRV at all around menopause?
Huge. It's huge. So this is where you can start seeing that you can predict an increase in, let's say, again, because it's been researched, vasomotor symptoms, right? You might be able to figure out your own brain fog or sleep issues, but less researched areas. Some of the stuff is going to be anecdotal versus research. But yes, absolutely. You're going to see worse recovery, right? Like exercise recovery or sleep recovery, or just the HRV in general is one of those indicators. And HRV, highly related to vasomotor symptoms, highly related to inflammation, highly related to poor recovery and sleep, highly related to low GABA levels. Like that's part of it. What's related to low GABA levels? Low progesterone. not estrogen, progesterone. Progesterone is like the key hormone for that. And then when you start thinking about as women get older, because like I said, the hot flashes is not the beginning. That's like further in when it comes to estrogen. It's related to those ups and downs. So we're talking about variability, right?
Mhm.
HRV is a magical indicator. I think it's incredibly important. I'm not a tracker user only because I'm always all over the place. The rings, I'm like when I grab the bars at the gym, I'm like, I gotta take the ring off. And then when I'm writing, I've got the band. I'm just like, ugh, if I could walk around naked, I probably would. But so I'm not a great case with that. I need to figure out like what other technology is gonna be more flexible. I need it to be rubberized, right? Like a rubber ring, and then
If
I'd be
they had a rubber aura, yeah, that's why I never did the aura because, again, same thing at the gym. If I go to do pull-ups and I feel it, that's gonna defeat my whole purpose. I'm gonna create more stress from that. The watch I do better with, but again, there's some of my wraps to do things like pull-ups, they come up higher on the wrist, so I have to move that. It's a pain in the ass, but again, for me to have the metrics like that, I just want people to understand that if you can use these things, they really do give you such insight to changes happening in your body.
huge. I have seen this is a good friend of mine where she was struggling. She's an endomorph, so when it comes to weight loss, it was a struggle. She was eating very healthy. I'm not eating sugar. I'm not like she's tried the vegan where it's too many carbs versions and none of her,
Yeah.
but she had really good and she didn't realize, oh, she's practically fructose intolerant. The fruit, the healthy fruit that she was eating
Uh-huh.
wasn't good for her, but she didn't understand and pick up on that. And it wasn't just spikes in glucose, it was drops. She was getting hypoglycemic, right? We're talking about a bigger person where people always think diabetes and you're looking for high blood sugar. She was getting the low blood sugar, which is essentially the pancreas going, ah,
Yeah.
here's some insulin. Oh my God, insulin. Because it was reacting poorly to certain foods. But all of that information came from a glucose tracker after she's okay, we need to look into this because the HRV was all over the place. The HRV was
See?
her indicator, and
Mm.
it started saying, "Look, I'm not recovering, I'm not doing these things. What else can I look at?" And then I told her, "Get a glucose monitor so you can see the data." It Data is such a good piece of information. It is the mirror. It is the actual mirror. Eventually, you start to pick up on, oh, there's the data. This is how HRV and it was called heart math. Like they've done a lot of
Yes.
things, even where you've got a screen and you can see the HRV. So you're trying to control your breath. You're trying to control your heart rate in response to this monitor, which was your HRV monitor, but visually representing, so that
Mhm.
in that moment you can create that connection and improve your HRV. And it was a training. Why?
Yeah.
Because the data becomes a mirror to what's going on in your body. Eventually, you don't need the visual data anymore. You just know it. And you're like, "Oh, wait a minute. I've been doing a lot of chest breathing. I need I need to do some deep breaths right now." And you pick up on it because you don't need the data because you've learned. This is part of the training. So I think it's so important, especially if you're just learning how to create a thriving environment for yourself. Get the data, get the trackers, get the advice and the help. Go for personalized medicine with people who work in the space that you want to
Mhm.
work on. You can't work on everything. You pick the area they want to work
Yeah.
on, and then you learn. It's like having a personal trainer at the gym. You need them at first to get the form but you don't need them forever. Like
Now,
eventually you should outgrow your trainer
yeah,
in competitions or something like that. And
or
and
motivation. Some need the motivation. That may be why they're there. They need someone to push them.
yeah, yeah, very true. Very true.
But yeah, I think an interesting thing with the HRV and then that the CGM, continuous glucose monitor that your friend used. I grabbed one last year. I was waking up in the middle of the night and I would get like rapid heart, like just really like shaky. Going, what the hell is happening? And so I got a CGM and I found out that I was having the drops. I was going well under 70
Mm.
in the middle of the night. And I was doing the berberine morning and evening. So I switched the berberine because I don't eat a high carb diet. I do, if I'm training at higher altitude, I will go higher carb rate because I know for me that helps with my altitude issues. But in general, like with dinner, I just do protein and veggies. And with the berberine on top of that, it was dropping my blood sugar too much. So I would wake up like shaking with a bit of a rapid heart rate, and that was waking me up in the middle of the night. When I switched that, watching the CGM and my HRV would go back up, and then the blood sugar stabilized
Yeah.
to where it was optimal the rest of the month. So I think our wearables, whether it's a CGM, any type of trackers, they're just great information, and all of this is creating awareness. And the more we understand about ourselves, because there's a lot of people that don't wanna wear trackers. They're like, it'll make my brain crazy that I'll start listening to it, and it's gonna freak me out. It's too much information. Even if you wear it just for a little bit, to just again, gain the awareness, that connection of what you feel and what you're experiencing when you look at that with the metric, because it's typically going to be pretty on if you have a good one. There's some ones that are kind of shitty quality out there, but the ones that are very good quality, you really start to see those patterns and then you feel them. You don't have to be monitoring everything. I do, just because it's what I do for a living. And I just love it, and I want to keep optimizing, so I want to see little changes. And then you talked about progesterone a bit. So let's hit a bit on the actual hormones, and I wanted to ask you about the bioidentical hormone replacement. I remember I went to a naturopath years ago, and she said, "I won't do testosterone. I won't give testosterone to anybody." We know that's it's like the most important hormone for men and women, and it drops. And I, as an activator, and I had asked you this question, that the activators I worked with tend to do better with higher testosterone amounts. I thrive in 2 and 300s. When if I'm like 100 or lower, I don't wanna get up. I am miserable. I really tank, and I've been as low as 7. When I hit 7, I don't wanna get out of bed. And I just looked at someone's yesterday, she's a 9. 9 testosterone, total testosterone. Her free testosterone, point 0.5, okay?
Nothing.
And I said that, "Your hormones are tanked." The doctor she goes to, her PCP, said everything looks good and didn't even suggest, and she said, "But you're suggesting hormones." I said, we know that hormones are protective, and that when you get very low levels of some hormones is very destructive, potentially. Bone density, all this. So I would love for you to talk a bit about that and your thoughts on the BHRT, but this is what I see a lot of, and I just wondered again, like, the the activators, we run on adrenaline and testosterone. And I said, "What do you think that could be? Why do I see a lot of us needing those higher amounts?" And my quote to you is it because we blow through it? Are we just that high strung that we blow through it, or what? And and I tend to see those will be a lot of the lower testosterone levels that come in, that I've seen and worked with. So I'm super curious as to what you might have to say on any of that, but maybe if we touch on the different hormones, what the importance is,
Yeah.
balance of progesterone and estrogen, things like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how the hormones help, right? What do we need in general? Progesterone tends to be the first one that starts to drop in perimenopause. We need it as like the balancer. So when it it gets prescribed either on its own or to balance estrogen. You shouldn't just have like estradiol prescription to protect your uterus, okay? So the reason is estradiol is kind of like building up the uterus, right? So on its own, with no protection, it's going to cause hyperplasia. Like we're just going to cause too much buildup of the uterus. But if you don't have a uterus, then you don't really need that progesterone for the protection purposes. Now you can just have it for its own purpose. What does it do? There's a lot that progesterone does, but I equate it to essentially the calmer. It's the I'm going to balance things out. I want to make things chill. So this is why it's so helpful to take, for example, oral micronized progesterone just before bed for sleep problems, because you're feeling relaxed, you're feeling balanced, you're feeling okay. The
Yeah.
anxiety is like chill. Why? It's associated with GABA. GABA is that neurotransmitter, that the opposite of adrenaline. Just chill you out. So when you're thinking about hormones, like, they have their character. That's the way I like to think about things, or maybe that's just the way I passed med school. Everything has a personality and a character, and the progesterone is the chill balancer. It's my Diplo. It's my way of
Yeah.
putting, "Don't worry, I got this. I'll equal things out. Not too much." Like, that whole, "What? Not too much?" It's just, but if you find yourself bloated, water retention, whoa, you got too much of the not too much, right? Like, too much of the chill, too much of the and down. So there's some people who are progesterone intolerant because they're feeling all of a sudden the water retention, the bloat, the breast
Kind of
extension, the,
depressed.
like,
Yeah.
lethargy, the depression. Whoa, too much down, a little bit more up. So that's how I characterize. And unfortunately, there is no guideline. There is no just set rule. You have to learn your body, listen to your body, make changes right away, and at the same time, be patient with the changes. You give yourself forgiveness as you experience this. So knowing the character of the hormones gets you an idea of, ooh, could I be lacking this one? So this is the calmer one, right? Like, if you're wired but tired at night and you're not sleeping at night and you're having that, like, anxiety, the progesterone could be a really good help.
Yeah, don't come and take my progesterone. I do 300 at night, and I love it. But I had to work up. I started at 50 years ago, and it gradually worked up, and then my doc said, "Just double it." I was at 140. "Just go ahead and double it, you'll be fine." I woke up with racing heart. Holy crap, crazy. And so we re-prescribed to just add another 50, and then I got up to the 300 safely. But again, some of us can be so sensitive, so it's really important, like you're saying, like, we all are different. So it's important to tweak as you go. There is no one dose that's great for everybody. Question, because you brought up GABA a couple times, and we know that glutamate, which is excitatory neurotransmitter, gets converted to GABA, and that's the GAD1 genes. So if you have somebody that might have issues with GAD1, hello, could that be also where that progesterone is helpful for me with that balance? And then also having, for those of us that are COMT-AA, with the slow breakdown of all this shit, these neurotransmitters, you get hit with both of those. There's no wonder that I didn't sleep for a long time, or had so many issues with sleep and waking, and that overactive brain, and why progesterone, and I can feel it. I'll take it before I start my night routine. And right as I do all the oral stuff, and then I wash my face, and then I get to the face cream, and by the time I get to the face cream, I'm like a stoner. Yo, dude. I'm like wired before, going, I need to calm down. And then yes, I'm putting the moisturizer on for bed. I'm super chill. And you just feel it lulling you. So could that be, again, back to some of the genetics, like the GAD1 genes, the COMTAA, could that be some of where that progesterone is being helpful? Do we tend to have, it might help with some of that? I don't know.
The answer is yes. So the more you know about your genetic profile and your predisposition, essentially it's a predisposition for things,
Yeah.
then you'll understand why you might have certain reactions to things or why you might need certain things, like a higher dose of progesterone than what I would start with for my body. And that's okay. That's just understanding. It's just data. So yes, your genetics that's why personalized medicine. Not everybody needs to become a geneticist. You can go to your specialist or somebody who knows personalized medicine and go above and beyond the, I don't know, give it a try. That's exactly
Yeah.
where it comes from. So yeah, you've got your chill hormone. That's what it does. It, like, balances, it chills, it calms down. And why did you wake up with a racing heart rate when you had too much? Racing heart rate is not always like the anxiety. It's sometimes because your blood pressure is so low that your heart has to pump fast to get everything going.
Oh, I didn't
So
think
it
of
could
that.
actually sometimes, and I'm not sure in your case specifically, and I have to ask more questions, but it could have been too much of the chill, and your body's, I'm chilling too much. I have to counter that, right? With your type of body is a reactive body. So
Yeah.
where does your reactive body come from? Well, COMT variant, which is funny. It's basically influencing the methylation of some of the hormones that would be excitatory, and it's not breaking them down. So you would have more dopamine and more adrenaline running through your body, and it's just not breaking down. So if you get a trigger, like an adrenaline trigger, maybe somebody else is, oh, no problem. And they can you keep that a little bit longer
Yeah.
because your COMT variant is not
Yeah.
breaking it down as quickly. So that's just, oh, a response. You get to know, which is amazing if you're going to be a cop and you need to be able to like
And it was.
into the it works really
Right?
well,
It was.
right?
With everything else, not so much.
But everybody has a great like role that they play because of their genetic makeup. And it's once you get to know that, you're like, oh, this is where I thrive. This is my magic. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And you would have probably been bored out of your mind with a room full of 6-month old that need to sleep all day.
Oh
Right?
my God.
Ah, look at this eyes. There you go.
You just saw my face, and it's like I was in a horror show, and Jason with his knife just came out of the woods at me. Like, horror. Oh,
Or for you,
yeah.
but for somebody else, that's the perfect
Yeah,
chill
that is.
environment because they don't have the same genetic makeup that keeps adrenaline rushes and likes adrenaline rushes and feels that uppity. And for them, an ER room or a criminal situation, whatever, that was like way too much, overwhelming because they just don't have that genetic makeup. And nothing wrong with it. We are meant to be different because there's so many different roles in our society. That is the beauty of it, which is why we need to flow with it. So let's get back to some of those hormones.
Yep, let's go to what do you wanna do next? You want testosterone,
Let's talk about
estrogen?
testosterone
Let's do it.
and why some people need it more than others. So now we're going, okay, so what is the character of testosterone? When you're thinking about it, it's okay to think male, energy, go, drive,
Get shit done.
dopamine. That's the character of testosterone. Now, the FDA for the longest time has only really approved testosterone therapy for women with low libido because all they're thinking about is sex. This is like a society made by men. So it's all about sex driven. Viagra, can I get enough sex? My wife doesn't want any more. What are we going to do about that? Blah, blah, blah. Old, old, conventional male dominant thinking. I'm not saying it's not going to help with libido, sure, but the research is lacking on all the other things that it can do. When you're thinking about that, go, drive, boo, do. Well, now it means competition. It means working fast at work or that brain fog that you've had, clarity. And it's like, oh, decisiveness. I used to be able to make decisions without a problem. And now all of a sudden I'm like, I'm not sure. And so many decisions. And
Overwhelm. Yeah.
that could be a testosterone lack. It's worth checking. That what you were saying is, I want to just be in bed. Exactly. There's no up and go. So the character of testosterone is up and go get them. Like it's a little bit competitive. It's elbows out. So if this was your character in your 20s when you were full of hormones, and now you're like, I have no get up and go. I have no motivation. I have no clear mind. And you're just like, you haven't changed, your hormones have. You might need more of that character of hormones. That's the way I like to see it, and that's the nice thing about individualized medicine and health types and understanding what is their character. So I might not have a diplomat needing the same levels as I would for an activator, just because naturally the diplomat might not be a get up and go. Maybe they were. I'm not saying they weren't, but I'm just like in terms of character. Whereas that activator, I'm like, whoa, if I'm seeing an activator act like a diplomat or a guardian and I'm like, oh, this isn't matching anymore. Something is off. And it could be many things. It could be anemia. It could be thyroid issue. It could something else worth investigating. Why? Because you know your body and you know your character and who you are and who you love to be and those things that gave you the jitters inside. And you're like, this feels awesome.
Yeah.
That is you. So
Yeah.
find out, communicate those things that make you not you so that we can work on those. And that's how I like to address hormones because there is no one size fits all. There is no protocol. There is, however, the help that could be done with it. So give it a try and we can talk about risks and benefits as you always should with your healthcare provider, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And people are afraid, especially women. I'm afraid to go on testosterone. It's going to make me like a man, and I don't really need that. And what if I end up? Am I going to have to be on these hormones the rest of my life? And it's like, you might want to.
Yeah.
Again, don't come and take these from me. I actually had doctors say to me a few years ago. That's why I fired her. And I talked to you about this, where my testosterone level was pretty high, and she wouldn't keep me there. And I said, "But I feel great." And she said, "No one should feel this good." Literally said that to me. I said, "But I'm recovering. I feel amazing." You shouldn't feel this good. What the F? Like, you're fired. But people do get afraid. And I have a client that's concerned about it. I have one of my best friends. She was afraid to go on the bioidenticals, but they're also, and I want to talk about it, estrogen. but they're also very protective. And I had read testosterone can be protective of breast cancer. The estrogen, we know bone density. One of my dearest friends, she's just a year or two younger than me, and she's an activator, osteoporosis. And I'm like, how the hell are you osteoporosis? I've been telling her for years. I'm like, please get some hormones. Your hormones are tanked. And I think this is just it. There just wasn't that protection. And now she's getting like bone fractures. It's really weird.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
I mean, and I'm not saying that hormones would have necessarily protected everything. There could have been other factors for her case of
absolutely.
osteoporosis with
Absolutely.
relation to exercise and impact and muscle density and nutrition and other things. So
Mhm.
not everything is cut and dry. I'm
Yep.
always going to like little asterisks on anything we say.
Yep.
Personalized medicine. That is the key.
Yeah. And
But
we always look at the whole, and same with me. You have to look at the whole picture, the whole person. We want to look at genetics. We want to look at how you're created. We want to look at what's expressing. What have you been doing? What are you doing now? All of it. It's a full picture. When I bring this up about being protective, I'm just talking about like that hormone in specific. Maybe it's protective here, and that could have played a part, like you said. But yeah, you have to look at the whole person and the whole situation, or
always,
you're doing a
always.
big disservice.
Everything is a caveat, and that's why I'm not a big believer in the Dr. Google or whatever protocols or guidelines. I'm like,
Chat.
everything has it depends, and we don't like that when you've got an answer. It's like, oh, it depends, because the reality is that's the complexity, and that makes it like. But that's who we are. We want personalized. You're not
Mhm.
a being in a box with a number. Like
Yeah.
you are you, and that's what makes you special, and I like to honor that and honor your body and honor your character and honor your mind, and your hormones are part of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about estrogen then.
Estrogen.
Estrogen. So think about estrogen, the perfect woman, the way we see it is that she does everything. She does everything. She can do everything. She's a rock. She is the baseline. She is the foundation. She creates care and love and softness. She creates youth and fertility. That is the woman, right? The Venus stima. We're not just talking about the one that like stands there. No, no, no. She does everything. So she can cook and she can clean. She does it like in your body. She creates the bone. There's receptors on everything. On everything. I think they've counted, and I mean they're probably still discovering, but they're like 400 different estrogen receptors all over the place. So we're talking about where your brain and how it's working, which is why it changes to your character and your mind and your anxiety and your thought processes and how you're sleeping and what types of dreams that you're having, to your heart and how it's beating and how it's pumping and your vessels and how they're responding to your bones and your kidneys and bone synthesis and muscle synthesis. Estrogen is everywhere. It's everywhere. And that means it's also been harder to study. Like they're still learning and figuring it out. It's different type of receptors. Some respond well to the transdermal local versus the oral
Mhm.
versus, and that's why you might hear different research and it's confusing.
Yeah.
So now we get into, is it scary? Is it dangerous? What happens? The importance is, and this is where the guidelines are actually going to be helpful. Okay. The guidelines, not the old guidelines from the Women's Health Study that was incredibly detrimental that said everyone's going to get cancer when they have estrogen. No, 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 no. We're
Set
starting
everybody
to
back
change
30
the
years.
story.
Yeah.
It's just, remember how I said old research takes a really long time to get out into the public? People are still talking about this darn study that was just really well marketed because it became scary and people love, oh my gosh, scary things.
Mhm.
For every one negative thing, you need like 10 to
Oh,
100
yeah.
positive things, right?
Yeah.
We're still trying to fix the mess. So with educate, we've learned so much more. Estrogen, especially when it is at optimal levels early on, is going to protect you from breast cancer, from osteoporosis, from muscle deterioration, from eye degeneration, from like all of these things that we were like, oh no, it's really bad. Like this is the signs of aging. Actually, this is a sign of low hormones or low estrogen in many cases. So it is incredibly protective and helpful. How it is prescribed is another important component. So this is where we get to
Yes.
that balancing, right? If you've got a uterus, you should not just be having estrogen on its own because you need the progesterone to balance it and protect the uterus, essentially. If you've been in menopause for a very long time, and they're saying 10 plus years, why? Because 10 was the research, but for some people it might be 8 and for some people it might be 12. That's research, right? What's happened, why doctors might be hesitant about prescribing estrogen is because you have been without estrogen for so long. The receptors, they're falling asleep. They retired.
They
So
need to wake up.
they're not there. Like responded. It's down regulation is the scientific term, right? So if your receptors have down regulated, you might not be responding to estrogen the way somebody who still has it, who just needs like a little poke and just, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
That's why some of those dangers or consequences come up that need to be evaluated. But that doesn't mean that long list of, fibromyalgia, PCOS, if you've had breast cancer in the past, if you like all of this list of reasons why people said estrogen is contraindicated, throw that out the window. It's got to be personalized to you, what your levels are, the type, the methodology, the dose, the timing, all of these things matter. Hormones are incredibly malleable, dynamic beings in your body, right? That's the character thing again. And once you understand how they work, then it can be properly prescribed. That's why it requires specialists, people who've had experience, people who had the training in there. It's not something that should be self-prescribed. So you don't want to just go over the counter and start doing things on your own. They are magical little beings. They're potent. So they can do a lot of good, but they need to be used well.
Yeah. And DNA can be super helpful here. I did a lot of DNA on the thyroid hormone specialist patients. We can look at propensities around those receptors.
Mhm.
Receptors with estrogen, receptors with progesterone, testosterone, conversion to estrogen, because people don't realize that testosterone converts to estrogen, men and women. And sometimes there's a much higher propensity genetically for that conversion. And that can really throw some things off. So when I type up a DNA report, because you have your online report and it'll have your basic information in there. And then I type up a supplemental and I'll put down the impactful SNPs and I say, please share this. I do it in a Word document. Please share it with your provider so that they can see as you're working with them to look for these propensities. Is this happening? You can do a Dutch test or anything like that to see the pathways things are going down. Yeah, that's where the DNA though can be super helpful to look at propensities when you're wondering, why am I not reacting well to this estrogen? Or why does this progesterone not seem to be working? Or why is it converting to androstenediol? Because you may have an increased conversion of progesterone to androstenediol genetically, which is androgens. So I think that's where it can be super helpful. And to look at also the breakdown of estrogen metabolites that are so toxic that can contribute to breast cancer. So I know having that COMTAA automatically puts me at a higher risk because it's a very low breakdown, a very slow breakdown of those metabolites. So it is an increased risk. So I make sure that I take my DIM and calcium deglucarate to help get that shit out. I don't want. I wish I would have known that for years, but interestingly, genetically, I have 3 birth sisters, and they all did the BRCA test. None of them came up positive. I've never done the test. All 3 of them have had breast cancer. BRCA induced.
We know so many cases now where we're learning it's not just having a marker. It's a combination of things. The research, oh my goodness, when it comes to breast cancer, like we're learning. We think we know, we don't know. The percentage, and this was told to me when I was doing a lab where I was learning about some like advanced lab testing and markers and stuff like that. And apologies, I forgot the actual data, the percentages. I don't know.
That's okay.
But the percentage of genetically correlated breast cancer is low. And I'm talking about like 5% low. We're talking low. And I said, wait a minute, what? We talk about the breast cancers and like the BRCA1, the BRCA2. And he goes, yeah, I know. And I'm like, are you sure about that number? Is there not like a double digit in there? We're talking, it was definitely single digit. I just don't remember exactly which one it was. It was like 4, 5, 6%, but we're talking low.
Low.
And it shocked me. And then he said, yeah, no. And I'm like, so then what's the rest? And he said, two main things, environmental and idiopathic. I love the word idiopathic and I hate it. It's fun to say, but it just means we don't know. We haven't done our fucking research. Whoops, I swore, sorry. But the other one is environmental. So when they say this, like the chemicals that we have exposure to and all the things, that matters. That goes back to the lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Do you have to be perfect? No, you do not have to be perfect because we should also have resilient bodies. Do you work on your detox pathways? Do you have a way to get rid of those metabolites? Are you aware of your metabolites and what your propensity might be? So you're like, I don't metabolize my estrogens very well, like my ratios, the 2 to 12, 2 to 14. These are the ratios. Don't worry, that gets into Dutch test details. We'll do that another day. But essentially, that might mean, hey, you're a great candidate for DIM. That's your BRCA vegetables. Sorry, not BRCA.
Cruciferous.
Cruciferous vegetables, brassica vegetables, but exponent, right? Like really high and really potent components. And you have your solution. You need to know how to feed your body, how to fuel it, use those nutrients, how to get rid of the metabolites and detox it. That's you and your body with the genetics that you've got. Having the information, super important, super clear. It's just data. Don't take the judgment from it, but don't scare yourself either. Just because you've got a BRCA1 or a BRCA2, it's not the end of the world. It really isn't, because turns out that data has just been blown up in the media. The reality is it's so incredibly low in relation to your breast cancer risk. Family heritage, however, very big.
Yeah.
They don't always know why. Idiopathic.
Yeah.
And my mom had breast cancer, but nobody else in the family had breast cancer. Like, it can come up. We don't know. Unfortunately, there's so much we don't know. We think we know. We're an advanced society. We've got research all over the place. There's an overwhelm of information coming through all the time. There's more research coming. With AI, we're learning more patterns. And yet, there is so much that we don't know. And there's so much we don't know that we don't know.
Excuse me. I agree. We're always finding out new things, but the one constant in all of it that never changes is your lifestyle and your environment. And again, like you said, we don't have to be perfect, but some things that you can take control of, the more you take a healthy control of it, the better off you're going to be. My sisters and I all live very different lifestyles. Very, very different. And you see it again with identical twins, right?
Yeah.
Lifestyle matters.
Studies.
Yeah. And I've had cancer survivors on my podcast, and they also, one was a stage 4 lymphoma. And he's like, my lifestyle, he said, I did the chemo and radiation, but he said lifestyle was my biggest factor. He was a triathlete. And he said, I was running myself into the ground, and the stress was one of the causing factors. So all of this, again, it's awareness. What are we doing? And I just did a 2-part on my podcast minis on Fridays, my last 2 weeks. It was last Friday and the Friday before were on alcohol's effects on the body. And one of the things I talked about is alcohol is one of the biggest risk factors in breast cancer. And people don't think about it. And for men. So again, it's every choice we make is going to take you further down a wrong road or potentially down a better road. But the beauty of it is it's never too late. It's never too late to gain awareness and work with anything. No. It's never too early or too late. And I think that the early is one of the things you're really hitting on today is don't wait until the hot flashes start. When you start getting aware of these different things happening with your body and you're noticing something's a bit off, even if you've been under high stress and feeling like shit, and something now is feeling even more off, start looking now instead of waiting for the hot flashes to begin. Correct? Am I on the right track?
Exactly it. Here's the thing. If we want to feel amazing, and we're now, like, longevity comes up. People talk about longevity medicine, but it's not just like, I want to live until I'm 95. No, I want to thrive until I'm 95, right?
Yes.
So if you want to have a long health span, which is what it's actually called, it means that you're healthy for the longest time before you're sick and die, right? Essentially, we all have to die at some point, but we want to be healthy for as long as possible. How do you do that? 80% of what you do every single day is going to matter. So this means, and 80 is not just research, me making it up. It's like research, and some people say 78, some people 82, but it's a high number. So maybe 2 or 3% is your BRCA gene or whatever for breast cancer. 80% is your food and your environment and your stress. And are you getting out and exercising? And are you laughing? Are you having a great time in life? Are you happy? These things matter very much. They are all contributors. And you might find, usually it's conventional medical doctors who would be like, don't worry about it, or just do this. And it bothers me so much because it is such an important factor in your health, in your longevity, in your health span.
It absolutely is.
So what you eat, how you eat, when you eat, how you cook what you're eating, huge. So we can talk about the food component and everything, but I really want to emphasize that whole personalization component, because you can try really hard to do the healthy stuff, but you didn't know that the Caesar salad full of bacon in it, because it's a salad. Like,
right?
Salad's like the worst kind of salad, but it's creamy, it's saturated fat, it's like the crouton, like all of those things that made it actually now an unhealthy salad, right?
And let's add the load of craisins on there, which are sugar raisins.
It's like,
Load up the
it
sugar
tastes
content.
good, and I had a salad. And then people are like, oh, I'm on a diet, I'm going to have a salad. But they're having it in January when it's really cold, and your body is, oh my God, what are you doing to me? There's so much more than what's out there. I bet you anything. There's one of your listeners going, wait, what? I shouldn't have my Caesar salad what am I supposed to do instead? Honestly, your homemade stews from like grandma's days is going to do a much better job, fill you up, make you feel satisfied. And that is your January diet. Just so if you want to know how to feed your body, how to get the outcomes, whether it is the optimal weight, the energy level, the way you function, having your brain there ready to go whenever you need it, feeling like you can move the way you wanted to, the way you were when you were 20 years old, or all of these components, that's called thriving. So if you want to thrive, you need to go beyond the line of fine that is the conventional medicine. You need to start investing in your health. It is an investment. It's the same way that we invest in our education, or we invest in our home, like
in the car. Right? We invest in it to
yeah.
keep it from getting a rusty old bucket that's going to break down on us.
Yeah. Don't hesitate. It should be part of your budget. I have a retirement plan. I have a health span plan. So the same way you put money away for your retirement for that day when you want to go golf on the course or whatever because you're not working, you should also have a monthly budget of what it takes to be healthy when you are ready to retire. And that monthly budget should be something to always think about, because it's above and beyond. Like here in Canada, we have our healthcare, like a standard healthcare. That's your line of fine. So you can't rely on that. You have to take out of your pocket and say, I'm going to invest in more. Because otherwise, it's kind of like saying, I'm going to go to social housing. Yeah, you want a pool in your backyard, or you want to have a car or whatever. You have to pay for that out of pocket, right? Yeah. You got to pay for your health out of pocket. You got to be able to say, this is my investment. And you choose how. So you choose, wait, do I want to work on my brain? Do I want to work on my mood? Do I want to work on my energy? Do I want to work on my weight? What is it? And you can find specialists or people who focus on that kind of stuff, specifically in the things that you want to work on. The same way I'd be like, oh, I want to remodel my home. I'm going to look for someone who's going to create a really nice backyard for me. Like your choice of your life that you want to create is something that you invest in. You invest time, energy, and money into it. So when it comes to personalized medicine, the longevity, the health span, don't hesitate. This is an important component. These are the things that are like now. I also talk about the people who want to cover things with their health insurance plans or their like annual budget tax season, like what happens. I'm like, yeah, this is where, did you know that it's, in some cases, it's a write-off. So your health expense is a write-off. Some people who are independent workers, for example, they've got a health expense account, for instance, or maybe you've got health insurance that you're covering and you need to like use it.
Use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it. So invest in those things that are good for your body so that you can live a longer time and enjoy that retirement plan that you've been saving for. That's the whole point.
If you don't have your health, the retirement doesn't matter. You're gonna
Exactly.
be miserable. You're gonna be spending all your money that you wanted to do fun things with on medical expenses.
That's right. That's right. And
It's
medical
quality of life.
expenses are the highest as you age, right? Now,
Yeah.
part of it is because we just need more, but you should already think like you're going to need more. So you start investing and you invest a little bit earlier now. So you're not spending your entire retirement on having to have IVs, wheelchair, personal nurses, and everything because you did a really shit job before.
Yep.
So you just do those little incremental investments to optimize your health early on, and you will have a health span so you can be that person who is running a marathon at 85 if that's something that you want to, or who doesn't get winded playing golf, or who can go sailing across the world without a problem because, hey, sailing,
Yep.
it's work.
Play with their
So,
grandkids.
right, play with your
Jeez,
grandkids.
be able to get on the floor, be able to go walk with them or play with them in the park or whatever it is that brings you joy
Yeah,
and not have to be sitting on the couch with
exactly.
your oxygen because you're miserable, because
Health
you
is
didn't
wealth.
take that time to care of yourself. So, Daniella, this has been amazing talk on menopause. So, what would be a few takeaways that you would like women to have around what we've discussed here today?
Oh, man. Just a few? There's so many. Okay. First, top of mind, listen to your body. Your body is communicating with you all the time. And if you don't know how to communicate with your body, that's fine. You learn, just like moms don't necessarily know how to communicate with this like little infant child they just created, right? It takes, you start to learn and you're like, eventually you're like, oh, that cue meant it was hungry or that's a wet diaper. Like you start to learn. So you will learn what your body is saying, but it is saying something to you. So listen up and don't gaslight yourself. It's real. It's real. Your body is actually communicating with you. So that means when you start to see this is consistent, this has been happening. Oh, every time I'm having these foods, I'm feeling this way. Or every time I'm doing these things, I'm not sleeping. And those are the patterns that you can pick up on and then communicate. And don't hesitate to communicate. This shouldn't be a taboo topic. You are a unique being that has a unique vessel and deserves unique fuel for that vessel, a good environment to thrive. That means you need to know what does your body need? Listen to it. Don't subdue that kind of stuff. Pay attention. You deserve to thrive. So speak up. Speak up. Look for help. Invest in your health. Invest in yourself, in your self-care. This is your time. And that's the beautiful thing about this transition is we get to start thinking about ourselves a little bit more because it all happens later on in the years. Yeah, when kids are older, they're done. It's me time. You've developed your career. Take care of yourself. So I think those are really important initial components to think about.
Yeah.
And I feel sad when women are just feeling like they need to grin and bear it. No. No, thank you.
So if someone wants to work with you because you're based in Canada, but you are able to work as a physician, correct, with some people in the United States, with my state, Colorado, it was as a coach, right? We had to go under the umbrella of coach, but you're still able to work with people.
So what happens is I am licensed and registered for Ontario. So Ontario, Canada, that is where I can do the full scope of practice for what is naturopathic medicine. I work with a nurse practitioner when it comes to prescribing, so I can get that entire thing taken care of. When it comes to other areas, some areas don't have naturopathic medicine in their jurisdiction as like a Wild West, and maybe I can do a little bit more, but otherwise I focus on the education. So I will, like I've done with you, we're looking at the labs. You already know what you want, but you wanted a sounding board. You wanted someone else's perspective on looking at what your data was. And it becomes an education component. I'm not prescribing medicine. I'm not doing a requisition. I can't get your lab test done in a different jurisdiction. So I work with your care providers, and that is your team. And now I become like a consultant, the same way a
Consult.
company might have an external consultant and say, can I get another perspective on these things? But you have your team. And that's how I work in that international space when it comes to personalized medicine, education, understanding your labs a little bit beyond what is the line of fine, which is those norm values, right? Where they say this
Mhm.
is high, this is low. And I'm like, okay, here's what the message is actually saying. And I will educate you on some of those things.
I love it. And again, it was super helpful for me, even coming from I'm in the personalized health space, but you have that medical background and we're able to take it to a different level. And I just find it so helpful. So if someone wanted to contact you, how would they do that? And we'll have all of your information in the show notes as well.
Thanks. The Perimenopause Lab now has an Instagram account that I've been working on. I need to learn how to be more comfortable in front of the camera. It's a thing. So I'm getting into that space. The best way is honestly via email. I'll leave that out there. My website has a direct contact information, and that's where you can get me, Daniella, as opposed to the perimenopause general information.
And what's your website?
It's drremynd.com.
drremynd.com. ND as in naturopathic doctor.
That's right.
In case anybody's just listening.
drremynd.com.
Yeah. So don't hesitate to look her up. She is a wealth of information. And if you tune in next, we are going to have part 2 where we will be talking with Dr. Daniella about the pH 360 as far as the food section. She was one of the developers there, and she's going to talk about the concepts, how it was created. And I think you will find a wealth of information there because this is going to be insights into the development of personalized health. And this is not ChatGPT, people. This is personalized health. Thank you so much for recording part 1. All right, so we're going to close this one down and tune in for part 2. But thank you so much for joining us today. Please share this with a woman, whether it's your wife, your friend, your mother, your sister in her 40s and 50s. Let's get the truth about perimenopause, about hormone therapy, all of this out there because we can all use the truth. So thank you so much for joining us. Get out there, make it a great day, and be your most authentic self.
Thank you for tuning into my podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode, I'd love for you to share it with someone who'd find the information useful. Please leave a review anywhere you listen to podcasts, and it'll help the information get out to others. If you're interested in seeing if we're a great fit to work together, the link is in the show notes below where you can sign up for a free consultation with me. So go make it a great day and let your authentic self shine.